This is Austin Real Estate Investing.
Austin Real Estate Investing.
We'll be discussing real estate investing in Austin, Texas, and bringing you experts from all different sectors of the real estate game. Your host, Jordan Moorhead, is a real estate agent and investor in Austin and is here to help you get started or to build your portfolio and explore new strategies.
Hey all, this is Jordan Moorhead, and this is the Austin Real Estate Investing Podcast. Today we have Cody Caswell back here with us, and we're going to talk all about flipping the Austin market and what they're doing to help people sell their flips quickly and how they can help you too. Hey Cody, how are you?
Great, man. Great to be here.
Awesome. No, thank you so much for coming. I know we are here November of 2024. It's been a rough market for flippers the last, I don't know, you flip here in Austin. What do you say, the last 18 months has been rough?
Yeah, definitely last at least 18 months. Yeah. It's been rough out here.
Sure. And I know you found some things that work and some things that don't, both doing it yourself and helping others. And I really wanted to talk today about, what you're doing to help people flip in Austin and really how you can be a service. And then again, we talked a little bit about it before we got started, what you're seeing that works and what doesn't work. And I think most everybody listening to this knows that, the grays and the black trim and all that kind of stuff is mostly out now, but, maybe they don't. So what would you say the style was a few years ago in Austin? Let's call it 2020, 2021. And what's not working today?
Yeah, I'll kind of take it from the top. First and foremost, I mean, we own as far as we know, we're the only interior design firm that is specifically tailored to real estate investors. So we design flips, new developments, STRs for investors only. So I mean, it's definitely like a niche that we've worked ourselves into to being, like I said, the only person that we know that does this across the nation. We just happen to be located in Austin, so we do it anywhere in the country. But let's kind of talk about the Austin market. Talk about what happened in the market between 2021 and now. I mean, what happened nationally in the market, but also what happened to Austin specifically. So 2021 in Austin, everybody knows it was like anything and everything was getting bought. It didn't matter what it looked like. It didn't matter what shape it was in. It was going over asking price day one. It was insane. I mean, debt was free, 2.8%, 3% interest rates were totally free. And whenever markets are like that, investors, there's like two sides of it, right? Like you have to pay more for an investment property because when markets are super hot, you have a lot more investors enter the market to try to actually flip and to try to buy STRs and things like that. So you have to enter into your projects at a higher price, which leaves you less money to actually renovate the property. So like you just have less margin to work with. Now, when you're getting over asking price, the market as hot as it is, it doesn't really matter what you do to the house. So we found that in 2021 and 2022, investors across the nation, Austin in particular as well, they were like building their quote unquote design package, which basically, acquainted to white walls, white trim, white cabinets. You put like a basic granite on the countertops and black light fixtures and hardware everywhere. Really didn't matter if it all matched or flowed or anything like that. You're basically just putting lipstick on a pig, kind of copy and pasting the same design over and over again, and it was selling. It just didn't really matter what it looked like because buyers were going to come buy it no matter what. 2022, we obviously started seeing the market pull back, and in 2023, it was just awful as far as interest rates go. I mean, we know like real estate markets in general across the nation shut down. Austin came to a screeching halt. So nobody started buying. Buyers and sellers, buyers especially, they completely shut down. And it left investors in a bad spot because we saw that a lot of investors got hung up with a lot of projects that they couldn't sell because they weren't super designed, they weren't desirable. And when the interest rates got as high as they were, nobody felt like it was worth the extra payment amount. It was worth spending all that money on a mortgage on a property that just wasn't even that nice. So we saw a giant pullback there. And that's kind of where our interior design firm started kind of making its way. We designed properties casually for people 2021, 2022. 2023, we turned this into a real business to say, okay, the market has obviously taken a giant shift across the U.S., but in Austin, really, especially. How are investors going to compete with the big builders is what we asked ourselves, because new developments were the only properties that were still selling. And really the main reason was because they were able to control their own debt and they were able to control their own costs. So whereas the national interest rate might have been like 7%, they could offer you, 5% for the first 5 years and then gradually, make your rate market rate after that. So they were just able to offer you payment arrangements on your mortgage that a traditional home you weren't going to be able to compete with. So if you're going to compete with that as an investor, what is your only chance of selling your property versus somebody going and buying a brand new construction in a brand new neighborhood? You have to offer something that the big builders can't. What do the big builders offer? They offer the same product over and over again in slightly different iterations. So you go to a D.R. Horton neighborhood, what do you see? You see the same house copy and pasted 150 times with just a little bitty tweak, right? So as investors, we kind of said, okay, well, if somebody's...
And they're nice, too.
They're super nice.
Especially for the price. They're very nice homes. So people see these homes and they say, why am I going to buy this not well done flip over here when I can get essentially what felt like the same thing at the D.R. Horton neighborhood, and they're buying down the interest rate and the price is cheaper. And
exactly.
they're paying all the closing costs, all that type of deal.
Hey guys, this is Jordan Moorhead here, and I wanted to ask if you could do a huge favor for me. If you could go leave a review for this podcast wherever you're listening to it, that would really help me get this into the hands of other people that are interested in information about Austin real estate investing, and I'd be able to help more people. Thanks, guys.
Why would somebody come and buy my gray walls and white trim and white cabinet house, for 7% whenever they can, and it's 50 years old, versus they can go buy something brand new from D.R. Horton that looks the exact same, exactly, with a warranty and 2% less than my interest rate. It made no sense, and investors just were getting halted. So we kind of saw this niche to say, okay, well, the only way that investors are going to compete in a market like this is you have to offer something that the builders can't. And what is that? That's an extremely well-designed property. So we're talking unique tiles. We're talking beautiful backsplashes, pops of color in the cabinetry, stuff like that, things that the big builders just don't offer at mass because they can't mass quantity buy the materials. So that's sort of where the design business got formed up, was just sort of a counteract, something to counteract investors competing with the big builders.
Yeah, absolutely. I think I heard somebody say I don't know, 6 months ago, this is dramatic and probably an exaggeration, it felt like the only thing that was selling in Austin was the new construction. Because the new construction, like you said, for all the reasons you listed, interest rate buy downs, warranties, closing costs paid, cheaper price, reasonably nice product. And I think
they'll throw you a fridge in there, dude, and make it easy.
People would argue the nice part all day, though. There's some that they look nice, but that only lasts for a short period of time. But I saw lots of flippers just using the same old, like you said, gray walls, black fixtures, and that just ended in mid 2022 when there wasn't this huge demand and almost non-existent supply. So, what you're talking about is things that builders can't do. You're making a nice, unique product that looks really high end and is really high end versus a cookie cutter new build property. So I think with flippers, your goal, obviously, you're flipping houses to make money. But you're not going to make, I think, you going in on the front end when you go too cheap and you just do the gray walls, black trim, black fixtures package, which is cheap and easy. You don't make the good exit and you don't make good money on it.
Well, and you get eaten up with holding costs because nobody wants to buy your house. So your house is going to sit for 6 months, and any real estate investor knows that, especially in Austin, it's going to cost you $5,000 or $6,000 a month just in holding costs. You hold that over a period of 6 months, and all of a sudden your $30,000 profit just got spent in interest.
And you had to drop the price quite a bit to even get it sold.
100%.
So you're lucky if you've made a profit. A lot of people didn't make a profit. A lot of people lost money. A lot of people gave it up for the debt, the cost of their debt. So I know you have a few different options, and in interior design just inherently sounds expensive. So when I hear interior design, I say, I'm not paying for that. I can't pay that much money for that type of thing. So what are you all doing differently? I know you're doing options that aren't expensive and it can absolutely be budget friendly or cost conscious for flippers.
Yeah, 100%. Everything that we do is based on flat rate costs. So like we don't charge hourly to anybody. That's kind of where the traditional interior design industry got out of touch with investors, was this hourly cost. Two things really. It was the hourly cost and also the fact that like historically interior designers are just out of touch with the real estate investors, meaning that like their goal is to make the most beautiful product possible. It's not necessarily how to give you the most beautiful product possible at the best cost possible. That's where they get a little bit disconnected. So we solved that problem in two ways. Number one, everything is flat rate. So it's flat rate based on your square footage. And we never have a project that cost over $4,000. I mean, like even a 5,000 square foot house is only going to run you about $4,000 in cost. Your average property that an investor in Austin is flipping, and really across the country, or call it your 3-bedroom, 2-bath, 1,700 square foot house, that's $3,000 flat rate for us to design everything. So top to bottom, we design your light fixtures, plumbing fixtures, cabinets, countertops, flooring, grout colors, tiles, vanities, you name it. If it's attached to the house, we design it. So that's like the first side that we use to counteract the traditional interior design industry. The second is designers being out of touch with how much the fixtures and all the materials cost. And for us, we're investors first. So before we ever designed a property for somebody else, we flipped 50 of our own homes. So like we come from the real estate investing industry, and we still flip about 15 properties ourselves per year for us and for other investors. So here locally in Austin, we do the construction for other investors, and we actually flip their properties for them as a design build contractor. So our entire business is centered around real estate investing. It's not centered around true design build construction where, the contractors are charging a lot of money. Interior designers are charging a lot of money. We're buying really expensive fixtures from really expensive retailers. That's not our business model. Our business model is to design beautiful homes that make money. It's not just to design beautiful homes. So, all of our products, for every one of our projects, we source them from 4 main suppliers. It's Lowe's, Home Depot, Floor & Decor, Amazon. And those four suppliers are where all investors are shopping from. It's where you can get the best bulk pricing deals from the sales reps. And you can find those products anywhere in the country. So it doesn't matter if you're located in Washington or Florida, you can shop from those 4 retailers and get it shipped to the door. So it's a combination of like not only making the pricing for the product good as far as like the pricing for our design services, but it's also the pricing of all the materials that we're selecting. And we also design based on the ARV of the property. So like, something with an ARV of 1.5 million is going to have a lot different products than something with an ARV of 200,000 in the Midwest. So
you're doing after repair values of over $1 million on some of these. I mean, I think you mentioned one before we got started.
Yeah, our highest one so far has been 1.5 million. That's our highest, and then our lowest is 170,000. So, I mean, we're talking a wide range. So from $170,000 properties in St. Louis all the way to $1.5 million in Austin and California. Like we're doing a full range spectrum here. And I think that's what's interesting about us. Like I said, we're investors. Like the first question we ask is what's your ARV? So that's going to totally depend on the grade and the level of all of the fixtures and all the materials that we're using. Cause for example, in Austin, 1.5 million, that's going to require engineered hardwood, but anything under 600,000, you don't even have to think about engineered hardwood. Like it doesn't need it. So like, Delta faucets, the grade of cabinetry that we're using, all that stuff, like flat panel cabinets versus shaker cabinets, all that stuff encompasses in like A, what's the design style of the house, but also B, more importantly, what's the ARV?
Sure. Yeah. So you're focused on making investors money versus designing the most beautiful thing out there. And I know I've seen a lot of these products, so I know they all look amazing, but the number one goal is how do we make you money?
Exactly. It's like, we always say like, it's one thing to design beautiful homes. It's another thing to design beautiful homes that make money.
Yeah. Well, that's the goal.
Anybody can make a pretty house, but not anybody can make a pretty house that makes money.
So I guess you could even do this stuff for BRRRR projects. So saying, hey, I want to get a really nice home and I want to make it worth X amount. Here's what I need to do to get this done.
Have you wanted to be part of GoBundance, the tribe of millionaires, but just haven't hit that millionaire status yet? Well, now you can, not even being a millionaire, by joining our new program, GoBundance Emerge. My name's Jamie Gruber, creator of GoBundance Emerge and member of the GoBundance community, and now you can join. GoBundance.com/emerge, GoBundance.com/emerge. Use code Jordan for $100 off this 12-week goal-setting program and mastermind that'll propel you to being a whole life millionaire.
Yeah, something cool that we do for investors that are doing BRRRR projects and rentals. We have two kind of things. We have these pre-designed packages that we actually built for 3-bedroom, 2-bath homes. So if you go on our website, you can go see we have a full collection of pre-designed packages based on different ARV levels, based off some of our own personal projects that we've done that you can find on YouTube. We've actually put those designs on there for you to buy and use in your projects. And then we have a rental package on there as well. So like,
oh, cool.
If you're an investor that wants to, two things. If you just want to go online and buy our pre-designed package, it's $195. It's built for a 3-bedroom, 2-bath floor plan, and it gives you every single material you need to copy and paste into all of your rentals. So, like, really good portfolio landlords, the thing that they do is they make a full package that they use for every property. That way, when you're doing unit turns, your maintenance people or whoever your make-ready people are, they don't have to wonder what light fixtures in the bedroom, what paint colors on the trim. It's the same across all of your properties. Mm-hmm. So you can either go on our website and you can buy the pre-designed package that we've already had built for that. We call it like a tenant proof. It's our landlord package. We sort of built it to be tenant proof as far as like the fixtures go. Everything is like, you can find the parts at Lowe's. So like if you have a faucet breaks, you can just buy the part for the faucet rather than changing the whole faucet. All of the flooring, all of the light fixtures, all of that is part of Lowe's multifamily line. So that way, like, they never get rid of these products. So the idea was like, how do we make something that's as cheap to turn over between tenants as possible? Or we've actually built these packages too for investors. So like we have some investors in Cincinnati that they just do BRRRR rentals. And they do kind of the same property over and over again, but like our pre-designed package didn't exactly fit their style, at least like the style in the market they're in for rentals. So we just built them a rental package. We said, look, we're going to build it for a 3-bedroom, 2-bath home that's 1,500 square feet. That's mostly what they're doing. And they said, hey, if there's, if we come across one that's a 4-bed, we'll just sort of fill in the gaps, but we want a package that we can just reuse over and over again. So we actually built them that BRRRR package.
Nice. Yeah. And as a BRRRR investor, that can help you a lot on the back end because you're essentially flipping by refinancing. So you need to hit as high of an ARV as you can so you can get as much as or all of your money back when you're 100%. Doing BRRRR. So I think that's super important. So what does the process look like? Let's say a new flipper has got a property under contract and they close next week and they're interested in working with you and working with Ivory Home. What does the process look like to get into this and get a design done for their property? Obviously there's the pre-made packages online, but they've got something they want to make really nice and they want to stand out.
Yeah. For our custom design. So you go on our website, submit an inquiry form. We ask you some questions on there about like property size, square footage, and address. We'll get on the phone with you for about 30 minutes. We'll just kind of go through the details of your project. Say, hey, what's the ARV? 3 bedrooms, 2 bath. Okay. Are you adding any square footage? Are there any, funky spaces in the house that we need to know about? Just kind of get a feel for the project and what you're going to be doing with it. Once you decide to use us, all we need from you is we need photos of the house. So interior and exterior, try to get like as many angles as you can. Mm-hmm. Get us a 2D floor plan. So we use an app called Cubicasa for that. It's totally free and it takes about 5 minutes to scan a house. We like to use that so that we can actually have like the flow of the house and sort of know how big the rooms are too. We like a scope of work. Not all investors have a scope of work. We find that like a lot of times investors build their scope of work off of the design that we create. So if you have a scope of work, great. If not, great. And then a video walkthrough of the house. So basically walk around the exterior of the house and then through the interior house, kind of talking through what you'd like to do on the renovation. That way we know, okay, are you changing all the light fixtures or do you plan to replace the cabinets? Things like that. Are you going to retexture the ceiling? All that. From that, we design everything. So we're pretty painstakingly go through those videos and photos and we'll pick every single element in the house that we need to design. That goes for like, we like to say like, think if it's attached to the house, we design it. Mm-hmm. So paint colors, trim, doors, exterior doors, windows, roofing, decks, fences, all that. We design everything. We'll organize those onto design boards. So basically, we'll have a board for each room of the house. So we'll start with an exterior board, and then we'll have a board that's a throughout board, which is like all the products you're using throughout the home. And then we'll just go room by room with all the products we're using inside those rooms.
It's a design board. I know I've heard the term, and I think I've seen some, but what do you define a design board as?
It's basically like a so it's not PowerPoint, but think of it like a PowerPoint slide that is basically just a slide that shows every single product we're using in that room. So if we have like your primary, we use a software called Design Files. So you'll basically have a whiteboard that contains every single product we're using in the house. So we'll put like primary bathroom, and then we'll lay out the floor tile. We'll put the vanity light fixture. We'll put the mirrors, the faucets. We'll put the shower tile, the shower glass. All of that will go onto this design board, and it'll sort of like paint the picture for what the room is going to look like after it's complete.
Okay. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
Yep.
Absolutely.
So that's the design boards. We'll have a presentation with you. It takes about an hour to walk through the design boards with you. You can tell us like any products you don't like, any products that you just want to see some different options on. We'll make sure that all of the products meet the budget and what you're exactly wanting to spend, and make sure nothing's like too expensive, or maybe there's an area you might want to splurge on a little bit to make it pop. We'll kind of go through that. Once we finalize the design with you, you decide that you like all the products, you want to move forward with it. We'll build you a finish schedule, which I like to say that the finish schedule is like the full plan for that renovation. It's a 13-tab Google Sheets spreadsheet. It contains the SKU number, the product link, the area that the product is installed in, the installation method, any sort of coinciding grout colors or anything like that that has to go with it. It contains all of that information, and then we'll hand deliver both of those to you. So the idea that we like to say is like the design boards are great to keep in a folder or a binder at your renovation project, sort of laminate them and keep them at the project. That way, all of your subcontractors, as they're working on the property, can visually see what the room is supposed to look like when it's done. So like if your tile contractor, for example, is wondering how exactly this tile is supposed to get laid or something, he can see the picture in the book. He can see the picture in the book and say, okay, this is that tile, and this is how it should be installed when it's done. Very visual. The finish schedule is like for the general contractor, or if you're an investor and you run your own projects, it's for you. The finish schedule is what you're going to be ordering all your products off of. So that's going to contain like all of your product quantities. So like how many light fixtures do you need? How much cabinet hardware? How much flooring? All of that is contained inside the finish schedule, and that's where all your product links are to click and order.
So it sounds like you could actually save a lot of money with that too, just ordering all those products yourself. Because I know a lot of times contractors that I've worked with will handle the materials, but they absolutely charge a fee, or they upcharge
100%
on the materials there, or they go and get a discount and charge you market rate for them, type of deal.
No, 100%.
It's not a bad idea.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, that's how contractors make money, right? Like we like to say, like it keeps everybody honest. So with the coordination of the design boards and the finish schedule, there are two methods that the contractors can see where everything goes, how everything should be installed, what the room should look like. There should be no questions. There should be no misunderstandings. So it likes to keep everybody honest. Keeps the contractor honest on what the product costs. So you can see line by line every light fixture, every tile, what it should cost, because we sourced it for you. So if the contractor's upcharging you, you can obviously see that, or you can order it yourself. That's what we like to do for our own projects. We just take over the ordering and we order it ourselves. But number two, it holds the contractor accountable to doing the correct work. So what we find with a lot of investors, especially like investors that don't really have their process down yet, they're on like flip 1 through 10. There's a lot of handshake deals between you and the contractor. And the last thing you want is to walk into your project, see that a tile is installed in the wrong place, call your contractor out on it, and then deny it and say that you said it was supposed to be that way. Because now it's a battle of he said, she said. So what this does is it prevents any he said, she said. Like literally you can say, okay, did you look at the finish schedule? Because when you go to the tile flooring tab, you can see that the primary bathroom floor tile should be this. And so it keeps everybody accountable to say, like, it's right here in front of your face. It is completely understandable. And if something is wrong, you can point it to the contractor and say, you have to change this on your cost, not mine.
Yeah, that's really cool. No, I know I've dealt with many issues. And I think, back to the materials, a lot of people don't realize that you can have Home Depot or Lowe's or any of these guys drop this stuff off, usually for free. So you could just click all these buttons, have it dropped off at the job site. You've got all your materials there for the contractor. You've got all the ways to hold them accountable, and you control the cost. And that's where you're going to run into more issues than anything else.
Yep.
With real estate investing and flipping and whatever you're doing, remodeling a home, is the cost overruns are nuts.
Yep. And you save your time too. Like we always say, like as an investor, your time is not spent walking the aisles of Home Depot and Lowe's trying to find the perfect light fixture to go in your dining room and just like not being able to find it. So what do? You end up picking something off the shelf that's not going to really go with the design because your electrician needs it the next day. Like your time is not best spent doing that. Your time is best spent trying to find more deals, analyzing your budgets, making sure that things are staying on track. And what this does is it prevents you from having to waste your time going to the stores looking for all this crap. You can literally just click straight from the finish schedule, fill up your cart in Lowe's or Home Depot, or send this list to your sales rep and let them quote it for you, and then get it all delivered directly to the project. You never have to leave your office. Like it gives you so much time back in your schedule from having to drive out to the store. Your average trip to Home Depot is going to take you at least 3 or 4 hours. Multiply that across 10 times on a project, and you just spent a 40-hour work week in Home Depot.
Jordan Moorhead here. Really quickly, wanted to tell you a couple other ways you can keep track of us. If you want to listen to all these podcasts and ask questions, the Moorhead team on YouTube is the best place to be. And then Austin Real Estate Investors on Meetup is a great place to keep track of all of our meetups we have going on.
Yeah, that's a great point. Definitely not the highest and best use of your time there.
It is definitely not 100%.
Yeah. So I know you've been doing construction for yourself for a long time too, and doing all your own flips. You said you flipped over 50 a year in certain years. I know you're doing construction for other people now too. So on top of the design, you have a construction company, and you're getting these projects done for people.
Yeah, here in Austin, locally, in Austin specifically, locally, we've turned into like an investor design build contractor.
Mm-hmm.
So essentially, like if you're an investor who comes along and buys a house to flip, we'll come in as the contractor. We'll design it for you. We'll take you through our entire design process, and then we'll execute the design as your contractor. So it's for select projects, it's for select clients. We have a very specific type of project that we actually like to do the construction on. It's kind of like under 2,500 square foot house that needs a full renovation. So not projects that are too small, because there's just not enough margin on projects that are too small, but also not so heavy that like flood damage or fire damage or something that's going to get really hung up in the permitting stage.
Sure.
Sort of like that middle ground of, hey, we want to be doing a full renovation. It just needs to be something that's not so heavy that we get hung up in permitting really heavy. So, and first time investors in Austin, really, I mean, you don't have to be first timers, but we work really well with first timers because, we're just a really great resource to kind of teach you along. Like my idea is that I'm an investor at heart. The thing is that we can only flip so many houses. So I like to take on some other projects for people and, sort of be like a guide for these investors who may not have their processes dialed in just yet. I've done so many projects that I can sort of teach a first-time investor, or even somebody that's on project 1 through 10. I can sort of teach them our methods and the way that we run our projects and things, so that they can eventually go do it themselves. So I don't try to build like a lifetime relationship with people. What I try to tell people is that I want you to be so involved in this with me that eventually I don't have to be here. Like I can actually teach you how I run my projects and teach you how to be a successful flipper. In the process, we can do 3 or 4 projects together, and that's awesome. But I'm a firm believer that like if you're going to be a real estate investor, at least in the single family space, you kind of have to learn to take those roles on yourself if you want to vertically integrate as much as you can.
Sure. And I think, now that we're talking about that and you're talking about help people get started flipping, I know I talk to tons of people that want to get started in flipping houses. Obviously, I would say it's the most popular place in the real estate investing space. What's your advice to new flippers, and what should somebody do if they've never done one flip, they don't own any real estate investments, and they're looking to get into flipping?
My advice, I tell everybody this, is walk 1,000 homes. That's probably an exaggerated number, right? But like, don't decide
a lot of homes.
Walk a lot of homes. Don't decide you want to flip houses and then go buy a house the next week, because you're probably you're not gonna see something in the construction that's gonna be a giant cost overrun, or a wholesaler is gonna sell you on a property that's obviously too expensive. Mm-hmm. You just don't know what you're looking at.
I would say the wholesaler thing is one of the most dangerous things you could do as a new flipper.
100%.
There's no guardrails there whatsoever, And what I mean by that is there's usually no appraisal that's going to be done because you're buying with hard money or private money or cash. There is no rational pricing to the home. They've priced it at whatever they want. The ARV is so lots of times completely off. And the construction costs, anytime they have construction costs, in my opinion, a lot of times I see it's not accurate. So
100%.
just risky to buy a wholesale. Wholesale deals can be great. I've bought a lot of them, but I would say it's risky as a new investor because you don't get all the guardrails and all the security measures that you have with a regular home. If you go buy a home with a conventional loan with a realtor, obviously the realtor is bound to represent you as a client for their best interest. The loan, you're going to get an appraisal. They're going to look at the home. They're going to really do their due diligence, make sure you're not paying more than the property's worth. You've got I've got a team built in when you buy it in the traditional way to make sure you don't make a bad purchase. With the wholesaler, you don't have anything. You're just kind of out there on your own. So it's great when you have knowledge because you can get great deals that way too. But
exactly,
I think it's risky as a new investor.
It is. And like wholesalers don't represent you. That's what you need to know is like wholesalers do not represent you. Wholesalers represent themselves and their brokers that they work for.
Yeah.
Not to say that all of them are bad people, right? Like we work with a lot of wholesalers. We work with a lot of wholesalers who are incredible, and we've been working great with them for a couple of years now, and they're awesome. But you just always have to remember that they don't work for you; they work for themselves. And not to say they're going to intentionally sell you a bad deal or anything, but I like to say this too: is like a lot of times wholesalers don't know what they're looking at either. Like
they're brand
new, and like. They think they're right and they're very well intentioned on their construction costs or on their ARVs. And like, as well intentioned as they may be, they're wrong. And that's going to end up costing you if you're a new investor and you allow them to like take you through their sales process. And like, you just kind of get caught up in the whirlwind of, I want to start flipping houses. Like, I try to tell people like, don't dip your toes in, get in the water for sure. But go and do some research first. Like treat your getting in the water as going out and walking deals, getting boots on the ground, running numbers, and start like familiarizing yourself about what you're actually looking at, because there are so many aspects to flipping a house. It's not just buy it, renovate it, sell it. There's so much more that goes into it and so many things that can go wrong, and you have to know what you're looking for, or else like you're going to get hit.
Yeah. It absolutely can be a great way to make a lot of money, but if you don't do it the right way, I've seen a lot of people lose a lot of money, and a lot of even experienced flippers lose money flipping. So just because you lose money flipping doesn't mean you're not any good at it. I know people lose money all the time.
Yep. We lose money on deals. Yeah, we lose money on deals, and sometimes it's things that are out of your control.
Yeah.
The thing is, like as an investor, you want to try to limit you just want to try to limit the risk. Like there's a lot of risk involved in real estate investing in general, especially in flipping houses. You just mitigate the risk as much as you can. And some factors are always going to be out of your control. And, the law of large numbers, like if you do a lot, then traditionally you're going to end up on the good end of the stick, not on the bad end. But, we lose money on deals all the time. Like it happens. And, you just have to learn from them, understand why you lost money on them in the first place, and then just try to prevent against it on the next one.
Make sure to come check out our meetup, Austin Real Estate Investors, here in Austin. That is every second and fourth Thursday of every month. We would love to see you there. Again, it's Austin Real Estate Investors, and you can find it on meetup.com.
Yeah. Yep. No, I always think about flipping as it's such a short-term deal that you don't have control over the time you own the deal, and you have to sell it. Your one exit strategy is selling it. So I really think that it's smart to go into it as prepared as possible. Maybe you can't control everything, but you can control what price you bought it for. You can control having the right team together to help you figure out ARV, to help you figure out construction costs. And you can control things like design. If you come in, you're sloppy with your design, don't expect to make a lot of money every time. If you come in, you've got a great design put together, I would think your chances of losing money or not making a lot of money on a flip go way down, because I've seen it over and over and over and over. Really nice properties always sell, and they always sell for good profits. So it's very rare that a really nice property in a nice area sells at a loss.
Yeah, 100%. I think especially right now in the Austin market, let's kind of talk about like today, what we're seeing in the market. Yeah. So today in the market in Austin, what we're seeing is that you basically have two buyers that are turned on right now. Interest rates are floating around 7%. And your second or third time home buyers, they are caught or locked into an interest rate that is less than 4% right now. And so in order to trade houses, they will have to trade down houses and pay more per month. It doesn't make sense. Those buyers, even though they might be upside down on their equity, because a lot of those people bought in 2021 where they overpaid for the property and now they're upside down in the house, it's fine. The monthly payment is so cheap that they can afford to wait. So what are they choosing to do? They're choosing to wait. So what we see is that we have two buyers in the market right now. You have your first-time home buyers who know nothing different than 7% interest rates. They're just ready to jump off the fence. They want to buy a house. They're not trading a 3% interest rate for a 7% interest rate. They're walking into their first one. So for them, if they can afford the payment at 7% and rates come down, they can definitely afford the payment at 5%. So they're just kind of saying, I'm going to jump off the fence. I'm going to go buy. Then you have the cash buyers, which is like 1.3 million and up. Those are people that are buying these properties cash. Somewhere around that $1.5 million range is kind of where you get it. Those buyers don't care what interest rates are. It doesn't matter to them. They're buying it cash. Maybe they'll refinance it when the rates get really good, but they can afford to shell out the cash onto the property right now. So that's kind of what we see flippers being successful with right now that we're designing for are either the first-time home buyers that are kind of like the below 450,000 ARV range, and then the cash buyers that are above 1.3 million.
Okay. Yeah, that's interesting. I don't work as much in the higher range there, but I'm absolutely seeing that same thing on the 450 and under range. Is there still a lot of buyers out there for a $400,000 house in Austin?
Yep, lots.
Which 2 years ago, people would have said, oh, you can't find a $400,000 house in Austin. But now you can. And if you make them nice and you get them for a good price on the buy, those are great houses to flip. I would say that's the most common house for a new person to flip is a entry-level home that looks nice. So what's your advice for flippers in the market right now in Austin? Hey, we're in the market. We're in that $400,000 home space, $450,000. What's your best advice for flippers in the market right now?
My best advice for flippers in the market in that lower price range is definitely like you have to create a product that the builders can't replicate. The builders right now are struggling nationwide. So like D.R. Horton, Lennar, those companies are struggling nationwide. So they're offering really big rate incentives and really big price incentives on their neighborhoods right now. The trick is they're typically a little bit out of town. You get no yard. And yeah, it is a nice neighborhood. Don't get me wrong. Like it's a nice curb and gutter road, HOA neighborhood, but they're just 25 minutes out of the city and you get 0 yard. And you're limited on your design choices. So we like to say is like buy in neighborhoods that the builders can't enter into and make a product that they can't replicate. So if you buy it right in a good neighborhood that's well established next to a young school, an elementary school, because typically those buyers are going to be a little younger, buy it next to an elementary school and make a really good product. So do something that's really well designed, really cohesive, something truly unique to Austin. Austin is like the design capital of America. So like we see better designed properties here. It's like here in Orange County. So between here and Orange County, you got to have the best designed properties to compete. So make something truly unique, use really unique paint colors, materials, try to integrate a lot of cedar, try to integrate some really unique pattern tiles, Z-leaf, some terrazzo, do some really cool stuff in that property that just you're not going to see in the builder grade neighborhoods. That's going to entice that young buyer to want to choose your property that like at the bottom line, your property is 50 years old and the new build is brand new. So you have to do things to your house that's going to incentivize that young buyer to choose yours over the new build. So, and then the higher price range, I think it's pretty well understood that like if a buyer's coming along buying something for 1.5 million and up, the house got to be nice. So, like those clients, we see a lot of those clients that come to us, and like it's an automatic no brainer that they have to use an interior designer. We're just the most affordable solution in America. So we have a lot of buyers that come to us in that price range to say, hey, I absolutely knew I had to bring a designer on when I decided to take this project on. You guys are you are the most affordable solution in America and one of the best for what we do. So we're going to bring you guys on.
Awesome. Awesome, Cody. Well, thank you so much. Anybody listening, CodyIvoryHome.co is your website?
Yep, www.ivoryhome.co.
.co. Yep. Yes, sir. All right. We'll reach out to Cody. He would love to help you with any design needs. And it's absolutely an amazing resource on flipping properties. And if you need construction here in Austin, you might be able to help with that too.
Yep. Thanks again. I really appreciate it. We'd love anybody to reach out, and we'd love to help.
All right. We'll talk to y'all soon.